Hello again, everybody, and welcome to the next Blue Talk. This Blue Talk is going to apply to everybody here because it's all about people, recruitment, and retention in this industry. One of the aspects of this industry that I know about is I'm an ex-seafarer, and I spent a number of years at sea trying to get out of the industry back in the 80s and 90s because nobody told me anything about what the shipping industry was about. I was a young officer on ships, deep sea, and nobody told me at that time what the industry had to offer me, so I left. I became a journalist and then somehow ended up going full circle and became a maritime journalist. Then I found out just what the industry could offer. By that time I was locked into journalism, so I found myself enjoying my new role back in the industry as a journalist. Anyway, what we're going to try and do here is to talk about what the challenges are about recruiting people to be at sea and to be in the roles that you all hopefully enjoy in this industry. So, before we kick off, could we play the video?
Normally we encountered problems that is very hard to solve. The right attitude is we can do this as a team.
Every contract, every time I went on board, from cadet until now, I always give my best to show them that I'm worthy for being here on board, working with them, working with this company.
Well, the reason why present crew stays on board for the longest time, Höegh really takes care of their crew. They will build you up. Under their scholarship program, they provide career development, opportunity to enhance our skills.
The Aurora new building project, it means a lot more than a ship. It means development of people. So what we have done, we have recruited best seafarers from our own pool. That means an inspiration and motivation for our existing seafarers and possibilities to grow and learn and develop within Höegh Autoliners.
Good, thank you. That was a video, obviously, from Höegh Autoliners, and the star of the film is here, Sebjørn Dahl. Could you come up onto the stage a minute, please? For 45 minutes, actually. One of the things that I mentioned a minute ago was when I went to sea, nobody told me about the industry. And I was looking for every way I could when I was in my 20s to get off of a ship and try and find another career. Ended up, as I said, going full circle. Talk to me a little bit about what it's like these days for youngsters going to ships. Where do you find them? How do you keep them? What sort of motivation do you see you need to get them to have to work? Because you've got, perhaps I should just explain something. Höegh Autoliners has got how many ships being built? Is it 12?
We have 12 plus one small one, so 13 altogether.
13 altogether. So these are new ships, and they're going to be ammonia powered. The first ones are LNG dual fuel. The later ones you're going to deliver with ammonia when they sail, the last 3 or 4, then retrofit the other ones, I think, is the plan. So you've got new technology, and you just said in that video you're taking the best people that you've got to put onto those ships. So talk to me about those challenges.
I love to do that, Craig, and good to see you all. Good afternoon. Before I answer your question, I would like to share my personal concern at the moment, and maybe that can be a burning platform in a way. As we kick off this Blue Talk. Coming out of Corona, the commercial market was down. Everybody struggled in the maritime industry. For us, when the Corona started, it went from bad to worse overnight. 50% of the cargo disappeared. We used that time to resettle, reorganize, think about how we can meet the future in a proper manner. And we did that together with a lot of other shipping companies. Coming out of Corona, the market took off, and it has been a tremendous market the last 4 years. And listen to me now. In the order book, and this is fresh updates this morning, in an order book now, and normally the order book is 3.3 years. It will be delivered 5,900 vessels, above 1,000 tons. Almost 6,000 vessels will come out of different kind of yards, and all of them will require qualified seafarers. Are we prepared to take out the vessels in a proper manner? It's not only 5,900 vessels, it's also new technology on most of these vessels. 85% of these vessels, they will be dual fuel engine. In our segment, the PCTC segment, it will be 189 vessels coming into the market the next 3 years. And all seafarers, they will require gas certificates. So it's a tremendous change when it comes to number of vessels, technology, and required competence. So how do we meet that, to answer your question? Yeah, it's complicated to raise money and to design a vessel. But without crew, the vessel is nothing worth. So we started 1 year ahead of the new building program and asked ourselves, what do we need to do in order to be prepared to take out the vessels we are building? So what we did then, Craig, is basically to go through our list of seafarers, and we know them well because they have been with us for a long, long time, and we asked, are you interested, motivated to go through a training program taking out a dual fuel vessel? From street level, deck cadets, engine cadets, all the way up to engineers, chief engineers and captains. And not surprisingly, there were quite few that wanted to do something new. And we sent them to a training program in order to be qualified on our dual fuel vessels coming. And the first vessel, she was on the water August last year. And we realized that in order to be there with the crew, we have to start not in 24 to educate our seafarers, but we have to start early 23, maybe also in 22. And we are lucky. We have Höegh, an LNG company. So we talked with them. Can we use you as a university for practical training? And it's required with practical training on board the vessels. Without Höegh and the close cooperation there, it would have been difficult. So in short, we recruited internally, trained them on the vessels which we have kind of access to, went through specialized training, and then, of course, it's a lot of hands-on training, the last part of the delivery or building of the vessel. But my point is, I think we are facing an extremely challenging time when it comes to qualification and number of seafarers.
Yeah. The other aspect of that, though, is you're talking about the LNG. You've got the ammonia. So how are you going to train them for ammonia? Are you picking officers who are going to be trained in both LNG and ammonia, or are you going to pick extra ones to do just ammonia? And the other fact is, because I was there on the Höegh Aurora, the first one with you, and I met some of the crew. And at the time, you pointed out we've had to put an extra engineer on the ship. So I think, if I remember right, 31 rather than 30 people on the ship. And if you extrapolate that in the future, you're going to have extra crews across a lot of fleets. So first question there is ammonia. What about the training for ammonia? You mentioned Höegh for the LNG. What about the ammonia? And secondly, you're going to need more crew.
Yeah, we planned when we kicked off our 12-vessel new building program. That was to, as fast as possible, go for ammonia, but the technology was not there. So then we are basically building 8 LNG vessels, also convertible to ammonia first. And the main reason was that the ammonia technology was not there. We didn't have an engine. So the first 8 will be running on LNG. Then they need a gas certificate. So they will be trained for that. And then we train more people on those 8 vessels than we actually need for those 8. Bearing in mind that we will cherry pick people from the 8 LNG fueled vessels and train them particularly for ammonia. You don't need a lot of new certificates because then you have this gas certificate. But ammonia is a nasty gas, and it's a complete different ballgame when it comes to toxicity. So, of course, the safety focus will be a different ballgame on ammonia vessels. You mentioned additional crew. Yes, we need additional crew just because it's gas, not oil, in the engine. And on ammonia, we will, on the ammonia vessel, I'm pretty sure that we are discussing internally now how to meet those challenges. But I'm pretty sure we will add an ammonia safety officer on top of it.
Okay.
Not because we have to, but we believe that is a good safety device.
Just before I bring the other panelists up and just sort of broaden the conversation about, let's touch back on that issue of motivation and keeping. You've got your own crew. They are Höegh stamped crew, aren't they? They're people who will go onto the Höegh Autoliners vessels time and time again. You consider them family. Effectively. How important is that for the motivation that you're talking about? Because you said you had a lot of crew that came in, but how important do you think it is for a ship owner to take ownership of the crew that you have on those assets?
I think that's imperative, and I think it's extremely important. And for us, we treat the seafarers on board equally as a colleague ashore. We try to create some kind of family feeling. We meet them, we know the family, the kids, the wives, in some occasions also the husbands. So we keep them close and we try to see them and we communicate with them while on board, but also during vacation. Of course, I think that most companies where you have a happy team working, the people like to be seen. So it's easy to say, but it's not so easy to do because the seafarers, they are far away. When they are on vacation, they are not in the office. But we have spent a lot of effort into that. And why is that? Besides creating motivation and a stable workforce, then we can invest in training and education because they stay with us. I think if we turn it around and we have this kind of shopping around in the market and just recruit and offer a little bit more salary, then it's not necessarily so easy to spend money on training and education because then an argument in the office will be, why should we do that? They will be working for another company next contract. So this is a complex thing which is linked together. And it's many ways of doing it. I'm not saying what is right or wrong, but in Höegh, we do it like that. And we try to create this family, sense of family feeling. In
the Höegh home. Can I ask the other panelists to come up now, please, and join us? And just while we're doing that, talk about the gender balance that you've got in your offices and on the ships.
That's a very important topic. At sea, we are almost men. Which means that half of the population is not kind of there. And that is not the future. We have to do something with that. And in our company, we have close to, rough figures, close to 2,000 seafarers, 30 of them females.
30?
30. 30. So it's a small group. It's a good start. But it says something about how short we have come. So we are 100% open with that. We have to do more. And we are willing to do more. And we have to do it together with the females. We have to think otherwise when it comes to contractual periods and flexibility, etc., etc. But we have as a target and a goal to recruit and attract more females.
Your crew are Filipino?
Yeah, we have Filipino, 2/3 Filipino seafarers from deck boy to captain, and Chinese on the rest of the fleet.
On the rest of the fleet, okay.
Yeah.
Now just talk to me about how you can tackle that gender issue in the Philippines and in China, because it's one thing if you're taking crews from Norway, for example, you would probably be able to have that discussion and have a recruitment plan. But what about finding young women just out of university or whatever, wherever you go, to get them to come into the courses, to do the training, to start that? Because you've got to grab them early, same as any young lad who's coming into the industry. You've got to be able to attract them to even consider doing the training and be a cadet or a as you say, a deck boy and start up there. So talk to me about how Höegh is, because you must have something.
Yeah. We have a very, very good and close cooperation with Norwegian Maritime, Norwegian Shipowners Association and the Norwegian Training Center in Manila running a cadet program. So we have at all times 2 cadets on board our vessels, all times. So when we annually go out and recruit, we are in particular interested to meet the women. We promote the working place, but there are still very few of them at the universities. But if you find female who might be interested, then we use what we can in order to tell her that this is good. So it starts already at the university to promote and also recruit.
Yep. The reason I was doing that, of course, is Aykut at the World Maritime University, you issued a report. And here we're focusing on women in Africa and the opportunities there. So just distill for me the reports, kind of summarize, don't go into detail, but what's the main outcome of that report?
Yeah, thank you very much. First of all, for those of you who are not familiar, WMU, World Maritime University, which is very much relevant and linked to the Blue Talk, our main mandate to build capacity for the people coming from developing country. So what we did, and we completed the research, conducted the research, and we completed just 2 months ago with the generous support from Lloyd Register Foundation. And then the main conclusion and outcome of this report is, as you all know, and also my colleague already highlighted, according to BIMCO and ICS reports 2021, almost 2 million seafarers, and half coming from Pacific and Asia region. And Europe is providing the 33%, but Africa, unfortunately, in total, 4%. So in this respect, we already basically identified there is a big potential for Africa, and in particular, African women seafarers. Of course, the report has all these statistics I will not go through. Of course, they face some challenges and the barriers. I can mention a few of them. We did survey. Survey was done for the government side, administration, as well as the Maritime and Education Training Institution. We look into East Africa, South Africa, and the West Africa, not the North Africa, and especially Kenya, Nigeria, and the South Africa, which has highest number of METs. So a few challenges I would just like to highlight. When it comes to MET side, and inadequate funding and access to sea time placements, they are struggling, and shortage or retention of qualified MET staff, and inadequate training equipment, and the last but not the least, low uptake of maritime courses by female students. On the African seafarer side, this time, unemployment challenges, and lack of infrastructure, and interestingly, image of African seafarers, limited resources, and high cost of training. Let me stop here. Maybe if there is a second round, I can focus on the recommendation we have.
Well, that's good. I thought it was going to be a long list of negatives then. But there was another challenge I came across a couple of years ago, and this was particular in India. And that was because you're looking to try and attract young women to go into an industry. They needed to tell the mothers and fathers that it was okay for them to go into the shipping industry. There was a key element of convincing the families that women should go to sea. There is an opportunity for them. Did that come out anywhere? That sort of needs to look
Actually,
at the sort of the hierarchical, the structural elements in some of these countries.
Craig, actually, very good question. If you see this as a chain, we didn't look into that dimension, unfortunately.
Because I just find it's an important thing. Erlend, you're part of YoungShips. I know you've got some chapters now for YoungShip that are starting in Africa as well. How are you? I mean, you must have differences with what each individual YoungShip chapter has to face and what their challenges are. Could you just then tell me a little bit about sort of how you see this opportunity for women as well, but generally speaking, particularly in the developing countries, and how you see that need to build up the talent?
For sure. Thank you, Craig. So YoungShip International is an organization for young professionals all across the world, 5,000 members in 40 locations. And correct you are, we now in January announced that we will be opening up also in South Africa, Cape Town, and also PE, Port Elizabeth. So what we see from our members and the chapters, these 40 that I'm referring to here, every city has their own focus. So typically here in Norway, you see there is a lot of finance, a lot of lawyers, a lot of insurance, a lot of technology, a lot of ship owners. But in South Africa, as an example, we see that the local governments also want to help us facilitate that this can be a vessel where we can showcase what is the maritime industry, what is it all about. One thing is getting them into university, but how do we actually talk about the maritime industry before they have to make that choice? So South Africa will for sure be very, very interesting to see how we can assist and increase the percentage of seafarers from the African region, 4%, as you said. I think also a big challenge in our industry is the shortage of officers coming up. A BIMCO report stated that I believe there is a lack of 90,000 officers just in the coming 2 years. If you can open up for females also to enter this industry, you're suddenly increasing the pool of potential. But then we have to talk about what is actually a convenient way to be working as a female officer on board. And I know Sebjørn and other shipping companies are really looking into this. How do we change the way an officer works on board? The duration of stays at sea, for example. But I can touch more upon that later.
Yeah, I was also thinking that about the retention side of it. And perhaps, Karin, I can bring in the kind of the broader ship owners here as well, in terms of not only the women, but young people in general going into the industry, going into ship owners, going into shipping careers or going onto the ships. Talk to me about how you sort of collectively build up that sort of retention so that people feel... You heard me at the start there. I went out a career at sea, but I didn't know what else was available for me, so I left. I went to university. I paid my way to go to university. So I wanted to jump out. I was mentally not prepared to stay in because I had no future. I was English. There weren't that many ships for me anyway. But talk to me about how you work that through these days.
I think, first of all, I would like to say that Sebjørn and Höegh Autoliners is doing a tremendous job in both the recruitment part and also the retention part, and has got a really big emphasis on this. And the picture and the concerns that you're telling us about is something that is very recognizable in all the members. We hear the same story from all the members of the Norwegian Ship Owners Association, and I'm quite sure that associations from other countries will recognize. We need people, and we need new people in, but we also need to up-level the skills of the people that we have in the industry. And I think that being very meticulous in how we build up that sort of learning and future educational part is an extremely important element to that. And I think that the ship owners will sort of having much of the responsibility to do that in the future. But I'm also very keen to get the educational system to also take part of this journey. They're doing a great job in educating the youngsters to come in, but I think that they also will, in the future, have more of a profound role in actually delivering also future education, and that you're never sort of finished with your education at any one point. That's something, it's a lifelong learning, and that's something that will be new in our industry. And hopefully this will also be something that makes it more interesting to stay and see the opportunities coming along.
Yeah, because that was something I found was, it's only in hindsight that I can sort of use that sort of maturity, because this was, 3 or 4 decades ago that I was at sea, but it was this sudden realization that the company I was working for didn't want me to know what the opportunities were in the industry, because they needed me on the ships. So they wanted me on the ship, not to go searching for a job with a ship owner or a class society or become a lawyer or whatever, or a finance man. No, they wanted me on the ships.
I think a very important element for us as an industry to understand as well is that we need to recruit all kinds of different people. We need to recruit those who want to build a career on the ships and want to stay there and want to be part of that part of the industry. And we also need those who want to work for a short period of time at sea and then go ashore and hopefully work further in the industry. But I think that I see we have a challenge, I would say, in Norway there as well, that we've been very promoting the possibility to go to work at sea for a short period of time and then to go on board. I think we, in the future, need to be much wider in how we recruit people, not necessarily only recruiting those who've been doing the sort of educational system way into the industry, but also be more open to recruit differently and broaden our horizon in this.
Yeah.
And I think as an industry, we need to be much better at actually we have to acknowledge the huge importance it is with good seafarers in general. We need them.
One of the aspects that Sebjørn raised there, and this is where I'm going to bring in Ocean Catapult here, because you were talking about the technology, you're talking about the complexity of the tonnage that you've got in the future, and you just look around this exhibition hall and you've got all of these new technologies, batteries, fuel cells. People are talking nuclear, you've got the ammonia, you've got the methanol, you've got all the fuel systems, you've got new designs for sails going onto ships, underwater lubrication, all of these kind of fantastic things that are going to go onto the ship. They've got to be developed somewhere. Talk to me a little bit about how you find this then, because you need people who are wired to see this change.
Yeah.
You don't just need people who are wired for the change, they've got to have the competency and the talent for all of this technology, haven't they?
Yeah, for sure. And because we offer full-scale test facilities, which is world-leading test facilities. We have hydrogen, ammonia, and other future fuels, like you said. And I would say that these test beds or test facilities are a talent magnet, because you will see in action solutions to real solutions to real problems. And by working together with researchers and also, of course, the shipbuilders and ship owners, you can come into these test centers and you can actually see what you can be doing and to build your competence by doing that.
And Erlend, from a kind of a youthful perspective, something I left a long time ago, but are we missing a trick here with digitalization? Should we be using all of this talk about AI and digitalization and the transformation it's going to give to the industry? Are we missing a trick in using that in the language that we can use to attract people into this industry?
Yes, the answer is yes. There is a lot of fantastic technology available in our industry, but we are competing against big beasts, Microsoft, Google, etc. So how can we attract people to our industry? And that leads me on to motivation, because education, as Karin is talking about here, I think that is paramount, seeing that I can develop my career, I can develop as a person, I can be given responsibilities and take action for that, be held accountable, but learn and fail, and promoting that to the youth, that the maritime industry, yes, we only accumulate 3% of the global CO2 emissions. But if you're really eager to make a difference in the world, a change in the world, come join the maritime industry. There is a lot of technology. Yes, some things take their time, so it is, Sebjørn. But, there is a lot of opportunities. And I would just like to say this as well, that even though when we're walking around here, we can be very focused on the maritime and feeling that we are the center of the universe. Yes, we're only 3% of the global problem when it comes to decarbonization. But what is important in our industry is that we will hopefully, now in October, be the only global industry that is managing to agree on some global carbon cuts commercially. You know, if we manage to do this, the rest of the world can follow suit.
Yeah.
So I think for our industry to go in at an early age for people, showcase that there's a sea of opportunities here to actually make an impact. And I tend to say sometimes that, very generalistic speaking, that there are two types of people in the maritime industry. It's either those that have inherited it from uncles, fathers, grandfathers, aunts, whatever, kind of like forced into it, or there are those who just randomly stumble into the industry and they stay.
Yeah.
You know, where are the people, the 10-year-olds or 15-year-olds who are like, I'm going to be a seafarer, or I want to work with technology on making a change in the world, instead of just roasting on social media about the shipping being too bad. Come join us, make a change.
Yeah. Linn?
Yeah, I totally agree with what you're saying, because we're talking about universities earlier, but we need to start much earlier on with the youngest to actually do what you're doing, to come to, for instance, a test facility like ours, to see what is happening here and how can I be a part of this. We're a partner in an EU-funded project called H2 Cove, and that is to empower individuals and companies and organizations to build up the hydrogen competence in Europe. And there we're talking about vocational programs, for instance, and how are we going to build this competence, because we have technology that is being tested in our test site that is ready. We have Wärtsilä testing a combustion engine running on ammonia, and their product is going on board this Eidesvik Apollo Viking Energy ship. But they are also saying that we need people that can handle this new technology, and we need it now, not in 5 years. So how are we going to do that?
Yeah. Bringing them younger. Karin?
We actually have, in Norway, we have this common recruitment campaign going, that the entire industry is working together to try to recruit youngsters to come into the industry. And we recently had an opinion poll in this to try to understand young people. We asked 13 to 18-year-olds. We started out with asking them what kind of industry they were looking to work in when they grow up, and 3% answered the maritime industry. The only problem is that when we asked them what they were thinking about when it came to maritime industry, the top score was fisheries. So I think that we as an industry do have an issue with being known amongst young people. Even in Norway, where we think that we have a profound industry that is really big and making a huge impact, we still have an issue with making them understand the great opportunities that are here. And I think that we have to be we have to acknowledge that that as a problem for us. Moving forward,
Sebjørn, Erlend mentioned about sort of getting that interest and that passion, and we're talking here about the sort of talent and the attraction. Do you think seafarers at the moment, in general, understand the decarbonation story for shipping? Do they understand? Erlend mentioned the regulations that have now been agreed at the IMO and are coming into force, hopefully in October, as a stimulus for attracting people. But do the people on the ships at the at the coalface, metaphorically, do they know about this?
Yeah,
and do they care?
Difficult for me to answer on that one, in broad terms. But what I can say is that our seafarers, who I'm talking with quite regularly, they follow the industry quite closely, old and young. They like what we do in Höegh Autoliners. It has brought in, we are not the biggest company in the world, but it has created, and to be the biggest and a major player. That can make you proud, working in such a company. But what has made us proud is that we are bold and do some crazy steps forward. And we are prepared to fall. It's okay. But then we will race again, and we will push on. And this has created a tremendous enthusiasm among all employees, and not at least the seafarers. This hits them in the office, so to say. And we also see that we are more attractive now than we were before when it comes to recruitment. Because young people in Norway and other countries we are represented, they like a company thinking about the future and doing some bold moves. So the short answer, yes, they follow up. Yes, they understand. Yes, they read about it. And yes, they are enthusiastic. And when we ask them, are you willing to be on board one of the world's first ammonia-fueled vessel? That's going to be an extra risk. Nobody has said no. Nobody. Good. Showing that they are eager to participate in this kind of future. And they are also talking about, and we bring in family members, wives, husbands, and kids, and we tell about what we are doing in the company. And they are super positive.
Just before I go to Aykut there, just catching up on what you said about the reasons why people go into the industry. In other words, some of them are because their fathers go in there. Have you got second-generation seafarers yet? Have you got second or third generation? Their parents were at sea with Höegh. I'm going to go to sea with Höegh.
Yeah, massive.
You have?
Yeah. I've been in Höegh for 32 years. My son is now starting in Höegh. 1st of July. He has had this over the breakfast table for he's 31 years old. So he starts. When it comes to the seafarers, it's massive. It's a lot of people following their fathers in.
That's good to hear.
So it's fantastic.
Aykut, please.
I picked 3 elements to elaborate more. One of them is my colleague already answered to this. We have to be very careful. There is a risk. Technology is advancing very fast, and you already highlighted it requires upskilling and reskilling. But we start to add more and more the people on board. I remember I was in Malaysia just 6 months ago. I will quote another colleague. He was telling me that seafarers in the near future will be astronauts. So even the Marpolan X6 is basically asking them to record, to analyze, to report onshore. Basically, they are already busy with their own jobs on seafarers. So there is one dimension and the risk. They are aware of what is decarbonization, how can they respond, how can do energy efficient ship operation. That is one dimension. Another one, on top of my colleague said, there are already centers, the people can be familiar, but at the same time, we have also train the trainers. Again, another project we conducted just 2 months ago in Shanghai, WMUR University. We basically brought the people, the China and the neighboring countries. Basically, we train the trainers so that it can be basically cascaded into the whole MET institution. The last but not the least, another dimension is, maybe when it comes to attracting new generation, they are very much familiar with the technologies, the iPhone and all this stuff. So basically, future education will not be based on traditional MET education. STCW is being revised. The point I'm trying to make, there are 3 elements in the future. MET education supported by the training provided by the technology providers, as well as the e-learning opportunities. In this respect, that e-learning opportunities can be the link to attract new generation or generation Z or Y, I don't remember.
Yeah. Just before we go to some final comments, because we've got about 4 minutes left, you mentioned some recommendations from the report. Do you want to just, can you do it in 10 seconds?
Okay, in 10 minutes, yes. All right, basically recommendations are in the report, but important thing is you cannot basically come up with one set of recommendations. We have recommendation for 4 segments. Recommendation for administration and governments. For example, establish national seafarer development programs, regional cooperation and centers. Maybe Maritime Technology Cooperation Centers of GMM project is a good example. and to be tailored to this area. Another segment was the MIT institution I highlighted, and also the things we didn't touch upon, the support from developed countries to developing countries, like Marpolanexis is requiring and all these things. So that's why whatever we have to share with the others in terms of technology transfer, know-how, and so on and so forth, because we are on the same boat and nobody is left behind.
Good. Thanks, Aykut. Karin, just some last thoughts here. We were talking about Marpolanexis and all the compliance stuff. We're in danger, aren't we, of scaring seafarers off by overburdening them. You know, have we got that right yet? We were talking about attraction, but we're talking here about the retention and them not criminalisation, fatigue. There's lists of things that I write about in TradeWinds on a regular basis that make people probably, if they were reading TradeWinds, go, maybe not.
I think that is an element that we could be worried about. And I think that we are in a sort of transition where we want to put everything in the book. We don't know. We want them to know everything because we really can't pinpoint what they should really be focusing on. I think that for the future, we have to be much better at also segmenting what kind of skills, what kind of people needs to have. And perhaps not everyone doing all tasks needs to have the same education or the same skill level. And I think that we have to break that down and be better at that. And I think that will be sort of forcing itself through moving forward. Because there's not all ships that are as technologically advanced at all times, and there's different fuels that needs different skills, and not perhaps everyone needs to have the same skill levels. I think we will be seeing much more of the segmentation of this moving forward.
Okay, Erlend.
Yeah, I think two main key takeaways from my end is we have to show the range of tasks and opportunities in our industry. 2 million seafarers out there, 8 to 10 million supporting in the back office. So we need all of the competence we can get hold of. That's the first part. So just to showcase the range for people at an early age. The second one is let's focus also on the individuals here. What do they gain from joining our industry, the autonomy of it, how they can develop, how they can see the world. You know, back in the days, becoming a seafarer, you would explore the world while the rest of the Norwegians were just harvesting potatoes. You were out on a bar down in Singapore. So, you know, how can we open that again? Was in Rotterdam 2 weeks ago. Seafarers had been at sea for many, many weeks. Don't have time to go on shore. You know, they're just staying on the boats. So how can we make it more appealing for the seafarers, also the women then, to come into the industry are very important discussions for the future, I believe.
Yeah. And then final words there on the sort of, from the sort of catapult and the talent and the skills point there, Linn.
I think my final points is that I think we need to build stronger partnerships. Partnerships with the researcher school, academic institutions, and also these test areas. Because when we work together, you can actually spread the word, basically, and showcase what opportunities you have, and then I think you will see that that will attract more people. You will be building an innovation ecosystem, basically, and I think we need to do more of that.
You didn't believe we could do a 45-minute conversation on this, did you? We could carry on for another, probably a whole day talking about this. There are so many different angles that we've got to. Could we say a big thank you to my panel, please? Thank you. Thank you.